When we talk about being nice, it's important to recognize how often that word gets misunderstood or misapplied in relationships. Many times being nice can mean suppressing who you really are to avoid conflict or to gain someone's approval. But here's the reality: there's a difference between being nice and being genuinely kind or respectful. When you're just being nice to a man, often it's rooted in the fear of rejection or the desire to be liked. And what happens? You start overcompensating. You go out of your way to make them comfortable, to cater to their needs, to make sure they see you as agreeable and accommodating. But let me tell you, real lasting connections aren't built on niceness. They're built on authenticity. Authenticity is about being yourself unapologetically. It's about showing up as you are with all your quirks, your preferences, and your boundaries intact. Men don't fall in love with the idea of someone who never disagrees, never has their own perspective, or never stands up for themselves. They're drawn to women who are confident enough to say, "This is who I am, and I'm not afraid to let you see the real me." When you're constantly being nice, you dilute your essence. You become what you think they want instead of showing them who you truly are. Now let's take a moment to think about what happens when you prioritize niceness over respect. It's exhausting, isn't it? You're always wondering if you said the right thing, if you did enough to please them, if they're happy with you. And in doing so, you lose sight of your own happiness. Being nice becomes a performance, and sooner or later, the mask slips. But here's the secret: respect trumps niceness every time. When you respect yourself enough to be honest, to voice your needs, to hold your ground, you set the standard for how you want to be treated. And respect is what earns love, not bending over backward to avoid ruffling feathers. This shift in mindset changes the way you approach relationships. Instead of trying to win someone's favor by being overly accommodating, you create space for a connection based on mutual appreciation. Men can sense when you're not being genuine. And while they might enjoy the temporary convenience of someone who always agrees with them, they'll eventually crave a deeper, more authentic connection. And that's the connection that lasts. So instead of focusing on being nice, focus on being real. Be honest about what you want and don't shy away from expressing it. Show that you're confident enough to be yourself, even if it means risking disapproval. Remember, the right man won't be put off by your authenticity, he'll be drawn to it. Authenticity is magnetic, and it has the power to create a bond that niceness never could. Let the real you shine, and watch how the dynamic of your relationships transforms. Let's talk about the concept of boundaries and why they're absolutely essential in relationships. For some reason, the idea of setting boundaries has been painted as something negative, as though it's about keeping people out or creating distance. But the truth is, boundaries aren't walls, they're guidelines. They're a way of saying, this is what I need to feel respected, valued, and whole. And the incredible thing is, when you set boundaries, you don't push people away, you draw the right ones closer. Many women fall into the trap of thinking that being boundaryless makes them more lovable, more desirable. They say yes to things they don't want to do. They overlook behaviors that make them uncomfortable. And they tolerate situations that don't align with their values, all in the name of keeping the peace, or being seen as low maintenance. But what happens when you do that? You end up teaching others, men in particular, that your needs and feelings are secondary. And once that precedent is set, it becomes harder and harder to break the cycle. Men respect boundaries far more than they respect compliance. When you clearly communicate what you will and will not accept, you're not being difficult, you're being clear. And clarity is powerful. It sends the message that you know your worth and that you won't settle for less than you deserve. And here's the truth: the right man will rise to meet those boundaries. The wrong man, he'll push back or he'll walk away. And let me tell you, that's a gift. Because the wrong man walking away makes space for the right man to step in. Setting boundaries also teaches men how to treat you. If you show that you're willing to compromise on your values or your happiness just to make someone else comfortable, you set a precedent that they can disregard your needs. But when you establish boundaries, you set a new precedent, one of mutual respect. You're not just demanding respect, you're modeling it, showing what it looks like to value yourself deeply. And let's not forget, boundaries aren't just about saying no, they're also about saying yes. Yes to what aligns with your goals, your values, and your vision for your life. Yes to the things that light you up and make you feel empowered. Yes to the kind of love that honors and uplifts you, not one that diminishes or drains you. When you approach relationships from this place of clarity and confidence, you naturally attract men who are ready and willing to meet you there. The beauty of boundaries is that they simplify everything. You don't waste time trying to figure out how to navigate situations that don't feel right because you've already decided what's acceptable and what's not. This clarity allows you to focus on building a connection that's rooted in mutual understanding and respect. So don't be afraid to set those boundaries. They're not a sign of weakness, they're a testament to your strength. And remember, the right person will see your boundaries not as obstacles, but as guideposts to the most authentic, fulfilling version of love. Let's talk about authenticity, real, unfiltered authenticity, and why it's such a magnet for respect, love, and admiration. In relationships, especially with men, there's often this pressure to show only the parts of yourself that you think will be acceptable or attractive. You put on a smile when you hurt him. You agree with things you don't believe in. You laugh at jokes that don't resonate. And all of this comes from a place of wanting to be liked, of wanting to connect. But what's the cost of that? When you suppress your true self, you create a facade, a version of yourself that isn't completely real. And while that might attract attention in the short term, it doesn't build the foundation for deep, meaningful relationships. Why? Because what men truly respect and admire isn't perfection, it's truth. It's you standing confidently in who you are, flaws, quirks, and all. That's what draws people in your courage to be unapologetically you. Men, whether they express it or not, are deeply drawn to women who are rooted in their authenticity. When you're honest about your thoughts, your feelings, and your needs, you create an environment where genuine connection can thrive. And you also give men permission to be their authentic selves. It's a powerful dynamic because authenticity fosters trust. It says, this is who I am. Can you meet me here? Now, here's the challenge. Embracing authenticity means being willing to let go of the fear of rejection. It means understanding that not everyone will appreciate or align with the real you, and that's okay. The right man won't just accept your authenticity, he'll celebrate it. He'll see it as the very thing that sets you apart, the thing that makes you special. And if someone can't meet you at that level, they're not the one for you, and that's a win, not a loss. When you stop trying to fit into molds or meet expectations that don't align with who you truly are, you free yourself. You let go of the exhausting task of pretending and step into the liberating reality of simply being.